ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवम् श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौतुषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरि वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण। So welcome all of you for our study of the Nectar of Instruction, Shri Upadeshamrit. So, in the Shri Goswami Ashtakam written by Srila Srinivas Acharya, he has glorified the six Goswamis, which also includes glorification of Srila Rupa Goswami, because Srila Rupa Goswami is one of the chief uh, of the six Goswamis. So, Srinivas Acharya writes, Nana Shastra Vicharane Kanikunam Sadharma Samsthapakam लोकानां हितकारिणौ त्रिभुवने मन्यौ शरण्याकरौ राधा कृष्ण पदारविन्द वचनानन्देन मत्तालिकौ वन्दे रूप सनातनौ रघुयुगौ श्रीजीव गोपालकौ. Yeah, he says that these six Goswamis, including Srila Rupa Goswami, he was very expert in Nana Shastra Vicharan, in very scrutinizingly studying various scriptures. And actually, it was not so easy to get access to scriptures those days. Sometimes you could just get it for some time to read, and then you have to give it back to the person whom it belongs to. So, in that very short time, they would understand it, they would grasp the essence, or sometimes even copy it. And just take the essence of it, which will be very helpful for people. And Sadharma Samsthapakau. So, by their very scrutinizingly studying the scriptures, they establish the true religious principles for lokanam hitakarinam, for benefiting people in this world. Tribhuvane manyau sharanya karo, because of which they were very much accepted by people in all the three worlds. And then he says, Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nandena Mattaliko. So here the word Mattaliko means someone who is almost like a mad or very intoxicated in the mood of the gopis. So as you know, Srila Rupa Goswami, he is the Rupa Manjari, who was very much intoxicated in service of Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajan, serving the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna with great joy. Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Sri Jiva Gopalako. We offer respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Srila Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Gopal Bhatta, Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus, they are honored all over the three worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna. So, uh, after seeking blessings of Sri Rupa Goswami and Srila Prabhupada, who was also very expert in studying all the scriptures and who presented the scriptures so nicely for benefiting people in all three worlds. And he was also very devotionally absorbed in serving Sri Radha Krishna. So, to such Srila Prabhupada and Rupa Goswami, we offer very spiritual obeisances. Seeking their blessings, we'll try to continue our study of Sri Upadeshamrit. So, we are studying the first verse. Please repeat. Uh, So, today we are going to complete this first verse, and if time permits, we'll also start text 2. वाचो वेगं मनसः क्रोधवेगं जिह्वा वेगमुदरोपस्थवेगम् एतान् वेगान् यो विषहेत धीरः सर्वामपि मां पृथिवीं सशिष्यात्. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. So far we have had detailed discussion on Vacho Vegam, Manasa Vegam, Krodha Vegam, and last time we discussed about Jiva Vegam and Udara Vegam. And today we'll begin discussion about the last Vega, that is Upastha Vegam. Just jumping to the section where Srila Prabhupada writes about this. So initially he writes about this in the last part of his own commentary. And again he will repeat discussing about Upastha Vegam when he is discussing the sections from Anuvritti commentary of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Srila Prabhupada writes, in a similar manner, the urges of the genitals, the sex impulse, can be controlled when not used unnecessarily. The genitals should be used to beget a Krishna conscious child. Otherwise, they should not be used. The Krishna consciousness movement encourages marriage not for the satisfaction of the genitals but for the begetting of Krishna conscious children. As soon as the children are little grown up, they are sent over Gurukul school where they are trained to become fully Krishna conscious devotees. Many such Krishna conscious children are required, and one who is capable of bringing forth Krishna conscious offspring is allowed to use his genitals. And then Srila Prabhupada again writes about this after discussing Vacho Vegam, Manasa Vegam, Krodha Vegam, Jiva Vegam. Yeah. As far as the urges of the genitals are concerned, there are two, proper and improper, or legal and illicit sex. So this actually is coming from the commentary of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, where he says Vaidha and Avaidha. These two names he gives. When a man is properly mature, he can marry according to the rules and regulations of the Shastras and use his genitals for begetting nice children. That is legal and religious. Otherwise, he may adopt many artificial means to satisfy the demands of the genitals, and he may not use any restraint. When one indulges in illicit sex, as defined by the Shastras, either by thinking, planning, talking about, or actually having sexual intercourse, or by satisfying the genitals by artificial means, he is caught in the clutches of Maya. These instructions apply not only to householders but also to Tyagis, or those who are in the renounced order of life. In his book Prema Vivarta, chapter 7, Sri Jagadananda Pandit says, वैरागी भाई ग्राम्य कथा ना सुनी बेकाने ग्राम्य वार्ता ना कही बे या यबे मिली बे आने स्वप्ने ओ ना कर भाई स्त्री संभाषण गृहे स्त्री छाड़िया भाई आसिया छवन यदि चाह प्रणय राखिते गौरांगे रसने छोटा हरिदासेर कथा ठाके ये न मने बालन खाइबे आर भालना परिबे हृदय राधा कृष्ण सर्वदा सेविबे. My dear brother, you are in the renounced order of life. So here he is specifying more about people who are in the renounced order of life. As he says, these instructions apply for two categories. One is householder and another is the Tyagis or people in the renounced order. So for those who are in the renounced order, he has quoted these lines from Prema Vivarta. I just read the translation. My dear brother, you are in the renounced order of life and should not listen to uh, talk about ordinary worldly things, nor should you talk about worldly things when you meet with others. So, this is covering the aspect of Vajovegam. Do not think of women even in dreams. You have accepted the renounced order of life with a vow that forbids you to associate with women. If you wish to associate with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you must always remember the incident of Chota Haridas and how he was rejected by the Lord. Do not eat luxurious dishes or dress in fine garments, but always remain humble and serve their lordships, Shri Shri Radha Krishna in your heart of hearts. Okay, and then Prabhupada comes to the conclusion. So this is little difficult section to discuss. I hope there are no children here accompanying their parents. Okay. So, Upastha Vegam. Hmm? What is meaning of Upastha? Anybody knows? You know the meaning of Upavas? Upa means near. Vas means to reside. Hmm? So, whenever we are fasting, the purpose of the fasting is to come closer to the Lord. Hmm? So, Upa means near and Vas means to situate. Hmm? Or whenever a spiritual master is also instructing his disciple, the disciple is supposed to do upavas. He's supposed to sit very close to the spiritual master. So, in the similar lines, upastha. Stha means to situate or something that is situated, and upa means close. So, the previous vega was udara vegam. Udara vegam means the urges of the belly. So, what is situated close to your belly is the genitals. That is how the word comes upasthavegam. Upa means near and stha means situated. Now, the urges of genitals are again various. As we discussed in the first class, one of the urge of genitals is also uh, to, that is called mutra veg, or to pass urine. So that urge is not to be controlled. So some more urges are there like this for the genitals which are not to be controlled. But which vega has to be controlled? Kama vega has to be controlled. That is what is being discussed by the acharyas here. So surely there is pleasure uh, when one uh, engages in any kind of sexual activity using his genitals. Now, this pleasure is uh, coming from the Lord Himself, and it has a particular purpose. What is the purpose? It has a very sacred purpose, and it is reserved for procreation. And the problem starts when that which is so sacred for bringing a new life in this world is made so trivial just for one's own pleasure and experiencing some physical release. So actually, it is very sacred because it gives one opportunity to become co-creator with Krishna and in bringing a new life in this world. So that should not be unnecessarily used just for some physical release or for some happiness. And as it is with the other Vegas, if one is not controlling, then one will become very much habituated and uncontrolled. And the essence lies in the instruction of the Rupa Goswami that we read from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that when the mind is occupied with these things, then where is the scope for Krishna to reside in our mind? So most of these urges, like Jiva Vegam or Manasa Vegam or even Vacho Vegam, they take away a lot of time, energy, and the space of our own consciousness. And because of that, we have very little time, very little energy, and very little space of mind to think about Krishna. And ultimately, whatever we are thinking of, that is the destination we are going to attain. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajantyante kalevaram. Tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitaha. So whatever is our consciousness, especially at the time of leaving this body, that is the destination we are going to get. So amongst all the Vegas, this is one of the most uh, powerful Vega, which has kind of trapped most of the people in this material world. That's what scriptures say. Scriptures call this world as Maithun Agar, mm, where everyone is very much infatuated by this sex desire. So the focus on the discussion today is is not to deprive, but to retrieve for the original purpose for which this activity is meant. We're not going to discuss about repressing ourselves, but we'll discuss about how to have the right vision and spiritualizing this activity. As Krishna says, dharma viruddha bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshava. That sex life which is not against the religious principles, uh, I am that. That's what Krishna says. So there is one verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. This appears in second canto, chapter 6, text 8. I'll share. So this section in the second canto discusses about the process of creation. Hmm. How there was a primary creation and then there was a secondary creation. Hmm. Sarga and Visarga. So in the secondary creation, when all the senses were being created of human beings, all our senses have ultimately their origin in the Supreme Lord. Hmm. So from the ears of the Supreme Lord originate the ears of our like all the human beings. So there is a subtle ear, and there is gross ear, and there is the ear of the Supreme Lord. So all these are connected. So while describing these things, Shukdev Goswami also discusses the creation of the genitals. He says, Apam viryasya sargasya prajan yasya prajapatehe pumsah shishna upasthastu prajati ananda nivrite. So this upastha word has come here also. Shishna and upastha. From the Lord's genitals originate water, semen, generatives, rain, and the procreators. Procreators are the Prajapatis. So Prajapatis have come from the genitals of the Lord, the rain, the generatives, the semen, and the water. His genitals are the cause of a pleasure that counteracts the distress of begetting. And the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, the genitals and the pleasure of begetting counteract the distresses of family encumbrances. One would cease to generate altogether if there were not, by the grace of the Lord, a coating, a pleasure giving substance on the surface of the generative organs. This substance gives a pleasure so intense that it counteracts fully the distress of family encumbrances. A person is so captivated by this pleasure giving substance that he is not satisfied by begetting a single child, but increases the number of children with great risk in regard to maintaining them, simply for this pleasure giving substance. This pleasure giving substance is not false, however, because it originates from the transcendental body of the Lord. In other words, the pleasure giving substance is a reality, but it has taken on aspect of pervertedness on account of material contamination. In a material world, sex life is the cause of many distresses on account of material contact. Therefore, sex life in the material world should not be encouraged beyond the necessity. So, this is the reason. Uh, in the material world, sex life is the cause of many distresses on account of material contact. That is the reason that is not to be encouraged beyond necessity. There is a necessity for generating progeny even in the material world. But such generation of children must be carried out with full responsibility for spiritual values. The spiritual values of life can be realized in the human form of material existence, and the human being must adopt family planning with reference to the context of spiritual values and not otherwise. The degraded form of family restriction by the use of contraceptives, etc., is the grossest type of material contamination. Materialists who use these devices want to fully utilize the pleasure potency of the coating on the genitals by artificial means without knowing the spiritual importance of the human form of life. In other words, without knowledge of spiritual values, the less intelligent man tries to utilize only the material sense pleasure of the genitals. So, many things Prabhupada clarifies here. One thing is, this pleasure that we get is not something false. It is coming from the Lord Himself, but it was kept for a certain purpose. What was the purpose? The purpose was procreation with a focus on bringing up a Krishna conscious child. Because if there was no pleasure at all, as Prabhupada says, no one would beget children. So because there is some sense of pleasure, people would engage in sexual intercourse, and then that would help in bringing new life in this world. But when person loses this goal, actually his life becomes uh, very troublesome. Very, very troublesome. I'm going to show some more verses. I'm just directly reading from Prabhupada's purports, so that becomes very clear for everyone. Okay. Now, many times we will see uh, there are verses or sections in scriptures where uh, a man is told that woman is Maya, and purpose of male form is self-realization, and female is meant to distract him from self-realization and all. So whenever such things are told, it is told for people who are not Krishna conscious. It is told for people who are not devotees. It is told for people who are living a very materialistic life without a spiritual goal. And at that level, not only a female is a distraction for a male, But even a male is a great distraction for the female. And both kinds of verses are there in scriptures. And what is condemned is the attachment, not affection. So there's difference in these two things. One is called affection, another is attachment. So it's not that when we read these kind of sections, we become very hard-hearted towards our spouses, towards our family members, seeing them as a great stumbling block in our spiritual progress and the form of Maya and things like that. Uh, we need to uh, have affection for them, but attachment is what is problem. Attachments mean what? What was there in heart of Dhritarashtra for Duryodhan? That was attachment. Affection means you really show affectionate dealings, you love them, but center is not that personality. Center is Krishna, for Krishna's pleasure, for Guru's pleasure, for a higher goal. One has affectionate dealings. But attachment means you forget the goal of life and you are hell bent to fulfill whatever desires or whatever expectations the person makes, person whom you are very attached to. Like Duryodhan, what all nonsense desires he was expressing, and Dhritarashtra could not stop him. So this kind of attachment is what is condemned. So if there is a woman and she is very materialistic and a man is very attached to her, and he says give a spiritual life, and he will give up because he's so attached to her, that is what is condemned. And it is also vice versa. So I'll just show one verse where it is told that how even for woman man is Maya. And I'm showing this verse more to discuss the purport, because purport gives a very nice, very Krishna conscious understanding of family life. So this is from the section of Lord Kapila. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 31, Text 42. 3, 31, 42. ताम आत्मनो विजानीयात् पत्यपत्य गृहात्मकं दैवोपसादितं मृत्युं मृगयोर्गायनं यथा. Very strong verse. It says, a woman therefore should consider her husband, her house, her children to be arrangement of the external energy of the Lord for her death. Hmm? And it is arrangement of Maya for her death, just as the sweet singing of hunter is death for the deer. Hmm? It appears very nice for the deer. Oh, it is so sweet, it is so nice, but it is going to cause death. Now, again, as I told, this is in context of people who are not spiritual minded, who are not Krishna conscious. As we read the purport, Prabhupada gives a very nice understanding. Says, uh, yeah, it's a short purport, we'll read fully. In these instructions to Lord Kapil Dev, it is explained that not only is woman the gateway to hell for a man. So those kind of verses were there before, where woman was called a gateway of hell for a man. But now it's clarifying it is also the other way. But a man is also gateway to hell for a woman. It is a question of attachment. A man becomes attached to a woman because of her service, her beauty, and many other assets. And similarly, a woman becomes attached to a man for his giving her a nice place to live, ornaments, dress, and children. It is a question of attachment for one another. As long as either is attached to the other for such material enjoyment, the woman is dangerous for the man, and the man is also dangerous for the woman. But if the attachment is transferred to Krishna, both of them become Krishna conscious, and then marriage is very nice. Srila Rupa Goswami therefore recommends anasaktasya vishayan yatharham upayunjatah nirmandha Krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagyam uchyate. A man and woman should live together as householders in relationship with Krishna, only for the purpose of discharging duties in the service of Krishna. engage the children, engage the wife, and engage the husband, all in Krishna conscious duties. And then all these bodily or material attachments will disappear. Since the via medium is Krishna, the consciousness is pure and there is no possibility of degradation at any time. A very amazing purport, very hope giving purport, very encouraging, inspiring instructions. So, Prabhupada says that we don't have to artificially try for anartha nivritti, to become free from a sex desire. What we have to try is for artha pravritti, for becoming more Krishna conscious. When we do that, then the material attachments will automatically disappear. Hmm. So our focus should not be on the negation of the negatives. Focus is on engaging the children, wife, husband in Krishna conscious duties. Let us increase our Krishna consciousness more. Then all these bodily and material attachments will disappear. Hmm. That is the way to control this upastha vegam. So, yeah. Mm, Another solution Srila Prabhupada gives is association of the great souls. Mm. This appears in 1136. This is describing Lord Krishna's entrance into Dwarka, where it is described how Krishna was not at all affected by the beauty of the queens, who were so beautiful that they could even uh, agitate the minds of Cupid and even Lord Shiva. Mm. But because the Lord is a spiritual platform, he is completely unaffected. There is another verse which also says that even devotees in the spiritual world are actually not affected. Although the bodies of the women are very very beautiful there, even on the heavenly planets or upper places, in the spiritual world actually, not in heavenly planets, in the spiritual world. But they are not attracted by the beautiful body because they are so much intoxicated in glorifying Krishna. So this particular verse, Uddama bhava pishuna manavalguhasa व्रीडावलोकनिहतो मदनोऽपि सम्मूय चापमजहात् प्रमदोत्तमास्ता यस्येन्द्रियं विमथितुं कुहकैर्न शेकुः. It says, although the queen's beautiful smiles and furtive glances were all spotless and exciting, and although they could conquer Cupid himself by making him give up his bow in frustration, and although even the tolerant Lord Shiva could fall victim to them, still, despite all their magical feats and attractions, they could not agitate the senses of the Lord. Now, that was because Lord is spiritual. But for us, Prabhupada gives a solution. He says, uh, therefore, those who are in the path of salvation for going back home, back to Godhead, are specially advised by all scripture instructions to become free from such paraphernalia of material attraction. And that is possible only by the association of devotees of the Lord who are called Mahatmas. Cupid throws his arrows upon living beings to make them mad after the opposite sex, whether the party is actually beautiful or not. Sometimes we get surprised, oh, how are you so much mad after someone who doesn't even, look beautiful to someone? But that is happening because of the arrows of the Cupid. Cupid throws his arrows upon living beings to make them mad after the opposite sex, whether the party is actually beautiful or not. Cupid's provocations are going on even among beastly societies who are all ugly looking in the estimation of civilized nations. The Cupid's influence is exerted even amongst the ugliest forms, and what to speak of the most perfect beauties. Lord Shiva, who is considered to be most tolerant, was also struck by Cupid's arrows when he became mad after the Mohini incarnation of the Lord, and he acknowledged himself to be defeated. So although Cupid is so powerful, but still, if one takes association of the Mahatmas, then by that association, it is very much possible to overcome uh, this Upasthavekam. So Cupid has his 5 arrows. Have you heard of these 5 arrows of Cupid? Cupid has a very special bow of sugarcane, and he has 5 arrows which he shoots. The first arrow, uh, when he shoots on someone, then what happens to him is is called uh, mm, there are 5 arrows. One is Unmadan, Tapan, Shoshan, Sammohan, and Stambhan. So first thing what happens is he gets Stambhan. He gets frozen. Oh my lord. That's how sometimes they in Valentine Day and all that they show this heart, and heart is pierced by the arrow. So that arrow is the Cupid's first arrow. When it comes, it causes kind of freezing, and then there is Sammohan. One becomes uh, infatuated, and then there is Soshan. One feels great longing, a lot of intense feeling. And then the fourth arrow, when he shoots, it causes tapan. Actually, his body starts burning, his heart starts burning in great anguish. And the final arrow, when it is shot, that is called unmadan. He becomes fully mad. So, although Cupid uh, is so powerful, hmm, actually, one of the Subhashitkar, he has told, he says, एकं वस्तु द्विधा कर्तुं भवतः सन्ति धन्विनः. There are many dhanvis in this world. What is a dhanvi? Dhanvi is a bowman who can shoot arrows. Bhavah santi dhanvinah. There are many bowmen in this world. What do they do by this bow and arrow? Ekam vastu dvidha kartum. There is one object, and by shooting the arrow, it makes it into two. It makes into two. But Jayati eko smaro dhanvi. Sometimes it is said this, or it says dhanvi sa mar evaiko. But there is one bowman who is really very unique. Dvayor aikyam karoti yaha. What he does is there are two people who are separated. Somehow he makes them one by shooting. So that's a very magical shooting, and if someone starts getting shot, it becomes very difficult. But our dear Lord, He has come for the rescue of His devotees. By sending His devotees, the Mahatmas, when we take their association, we will get protected. Uh, and one should also try to dovetail all activities in Krishna consciousness. And one more very practical thing that devotees can do to overcome this upasthavegam. This is again explained in Lord Kapila's section, in in the section where a yogi is meditating on the form of the Lord, the beauty of the Lord. And while meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord, the navel of the Lord, the chest of the Lord, finally, when he comes to meditating on the face, so there comes a very beautiful verse, which is a practical tip given for all the devotees to remain protected from the arrows of the Cupid. So this is uh, Canto 3, Chapter 28, Text 32. Very sweet verse. Let's show it. Um, okay. He says, Hasam Hare Ravanata Khila Loka Timra Shoka Shrusagar Vishoshanamatyudaram Sammohanaya Rachitam Nijamaya Yasya Bhrumandalam Munakrite Makaradvajasya. Very nice. Two uh, meditations are described here. Meditating on two different parts or bodily limbs of the Lord. First is if you meditate on Hasam, the beautiful smile of the Lord. Hasam Hare Avanata Khila Loka. When you meditate on the beautiful smile of the Lord, what happens? Tivra Shoka Ashru Sagara Vishoshanam. The living entity is experiencing so much pain in this world that it has cried so much that by crying of these hot tears, he has filled the oceans. So much pain. He has filled the ocean, uh, means oceanic hot tears of waters are there. So much pain one has experienced. But when one meditates on the beautiful smile of the Lord, Hasam Hare, then even such Tivra Shoka Ashru Sagar. hmm, So Tivra means very intense grief when one is experiencing and when one cries, and even if that crying has led to formation of a sagar, ocean, Vishoshanam, ocean gets dried up. Uh, that is the power of meditating on the beautiful smile of the Lord. And then he says, if you meditate on the beautiful eyebrows of the Lord, then what will happen? So these eyebrows were especially designed for munis, mm, for munis or the sages or the devotees. So this eyebrows, if you see, they also look like the bow, the bow. And if you meditate on these eyebrows, then one will not get shot by the bow of the Cupid, who is called as Makar Dvajasya. So Cupid or Kamadev always carries a flag which has a symbol of Makar. Hmm. So Sammohanaya Rachitam Nijamaya Yasya Bhrumandalam is the eyebrows. Munikrite Makaradvajasya. A yogi should similarly meditate on the most benevolent smile of Lord Shri Hari, a smile which, for all those who bow down to him, dries away the ocean of tears caused by intense grief. Yogi should also meditate on the Lord's arched eyebrows, which are manifested by his internal potency in order to charm the sixth god for the good of the sages. So, one should meditate on the beautiful eyebrows of the Lord. Yeah, one will get higher taste, and as it is said in the case of Yamunacharya, who said that whenever after he became a great acharya, whenever I think of sex life, I spit at the thought. Because he has got a higher taste. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinah rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Uh, One can give up a lower form of enjoyment when one has obtained a higher taste in Krishna consciousness. So it's not that a thought will not come. Even after he became Yamunacharya, the thought came because he had experienced uh, a life of sense enjoyment when he became king for many, many years. But later, when he renounced and became Yamunacharya, the thought of sex life came, but instead of getting tempted, he felt disgusted. He said, I would spit at the thought. It's like something very ugly, something very dirty, something very uh, obnoxious thing is brought in front of you. How you feel? You feel like spitting or you feel like vomiting. That's how one will feel when one will think of sex life in the material sense, for material enjoyment. So he said that ever since he has seen the charming pastimes of the Lord, the charms of sex life had become abominable for him, and the mere thought of sex enjoyment would cause him to spit and turn his face. If anyone wants to be aloof from sex attraction, he must see the charming smile and fascinating eyebrows of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hmm. Okay. Um, Sorry, I'm not able to do much interaction today. This is a serious topic, and I also want to complete. I don't want to take this course too slow. So we will discuss things once I complete my presentation. Uh, okay. So having said this, now Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he has told about Vaidha and Avaidha, illicit and licit, or legitimate and illegitimate sex life. Uh, so what is that? Let us try to see, because that is something very important and that will give us more practical understanding of this, because many times people ask this question, what is the meaning of no illicit sex? The vow that one is taking at the time of initiation. And in books we do find Prabhupada writing that, uh, and here also we have read that this urge is only for producing Krishna conscious children. But then what one should do if one is not able to follow that very strictly? Some devotees ask, should I take initiation? Should I not take initiation? What is exactly the meaning? And I'm actually breaking the regulative principle. So that is what I wish to discuss now. Uh, okay, so as we read in the purport written by Prabhupada, he says that when a man has attained a proper age, and he has understanding of scripture. Let me show you that very clearly. Um, yeah, it says when a man is properly mature, he can marry according to the rules and regulations of the Shastras. Hmm. So, in this original text, if we see, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur says, uh, when a man is of a proper age, that is the first criteria to know whether it is Vaidha, whether it is a permissible, or it is Avaidha. When one engages in the activity before appropriate age, it becomes illicit sex. Second is he should have proper understanding of the directions mentioned in the scriptures. Now, if you look into scriptures, scriptures do give a variety of levels, a variety of standards. Mm. That's why one has to know scriptures also properly. If one is not able to study, one has to take guidance. That's why we have gurus, we have mentors, we have counselors who will give us proper understanding. And then he says also one has to engage in this activity at a proper time. And then one very important condition he adds there, that is he engages also in this activity for protection of one's grihastha dharma, which is a very, very important factor. So see other Vegas like Vacho Vegam, Manasa Vegam, Krodha Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udara Vegam. In all these Vegas, we are dealing with some non-living things, kind of. I mean, it is not a person. Like Vacho Vegam, we are the only person, and we just do the activity of speaking or thinking of something. We are not actually interacting with another living being who also has this kind of urges. Or Jiva Vegam, we just eat something. But Upastha Vegam is something where two people are involved in general. So uh, one is allowed to engage in sexual activities, sexual intercourse for the purpose of begetting children by having a proper marriage. And now, when one is married, there are two people involved. So it may happen sometime that one person is at a higher stage where one wants to follow a very strict standard. But it may also happen that the other person is not at that level. Mm. And that time, if the person who is at a higher standard becomes very fanatic, very strict, then there is a great chance that once Grihastha ashram will be in danger. The Grihastha the protection of Grihastha ashram and Grihastha dharma becomes a very vital factor. So there have been many cases where one of the spouse was very strict and other spouse felt very difficult to continue the marriage, and the marriage could not continue, or the other partner got into some illicit relationship with somebody else. So uh, to protect this, because amongst various things, various criterias which are mentioned, one criteria which is most important, which is like a complete taboo, is engaging in sexual activities with a person whom you are not religiously married to, hmm, or someone other than one's own wife or husband. And these standards will vary for the two categories, householders and the people in the renounced order. Hmm. But for people who are householders, for them, the complete taboo is no no illicit sex in a very gross means is having sex with someone other than one's own married spouse, like that. Like in no meat eating, if we see this concept of eating. Now, for the Vaishnavas, the highest standard, as we discussed in one of the question answer session last time, is if one gets to eat uh, Mahaprasad of the Lord, which is offered to deities which are very nicely worshipped with very high standards. And even the vegetables and the grains were grown by pure devotees, and the further cultivation of the land was done by pure devotees, 1600 devotees, second initiated, and whatever, and transported by pure devotees, and sold by pure devotees, purchased and brought by pure devotees, cooked by pure devotees, offered by pure devotees, served by pure devotees, and then honored. Very fortunate. So, if someone can get that, no, that is the ideal, highest standard. But that will not be practical always. Then one has to, okay, uh, whatever has come in my home, let me offer that with a good consciousness, cooked by a second initiated, secret round devotee. Sometimes even that may not be possible. Then, okay, one may have a maid who can come and cook. But then one makes sure that, okay, the maid is also chanting 16 rounds. If that is not possible, okay, still lower standard will be at least she's chanting 1 2 rounds. The maid is coming and cooking and chanting. If that is also not possible, then one sees at least the maid is following the four regulative principles, mm, and maintaining basic standards of cleanliness. Sometimes that also may not be possible when it's traveling out, and sometimes some devotees, householders especially, they may have to take something in some hotel in emergency, right? Or what are some Jain restaurants where people are actually following proper standards. Even that could be allowed sometimes. But what is not allowed, a strict no, is meditating. Meditating or uh, yeah, eating, those things which are like complete man. That is completely unallowed. And higher than that, okay, it forms a proper standard of eating, but then one can go on raising higher and higher. A very similar concept is there in this regulatory principle of no illicit sex. Hmm. So, what is complete no is having sex before marriage or having sex outside one's marriage. So, one of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, very intellectual Mataji, she has studied very deeply all the lectures that Prabhupada gave during initiation ceremonies. Hmm. And then she told that, and this we discussed with other devotees also, and we told that whenever Prabhupada was giving initiation, and whenever he was explaining the meaning of these executive principles, so when he described the understanding of no illicit sex, what he always said was no sex life before marriage or outside marriage. But in initiation lectures, he did not say that, okay, one has to uh, come together only for the purpose of making, begetting Krishna conscious pure devotees, like that. That he did not say during the initiation ceremonies. Because sometimes somebody will say, okay, if that is the only thing, only purpose, then Then, like, I think Brahmanand Prabhu or someone was talking to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, "Oh, this is the standard." And he said, "Okay, there is a standard, then why should I marry?" Then? It is so difficult, you know. At the brahmacharya ashram, I can be more protected environment. I can be more self-controlled. So, if we see Prabhupada's books only or Prabhupada's instruction only, I'll show you now three different standards that is has shown, which are also mentioned in the scriptures. Three different levels. So, one level, which is the highest level, hmm, that Prabhupada says, uh, this is 3:30:28. Hmm. Again, Lord Kapila section. Okay, in this adverse fruitive activities. This is a very strong verse. Tamishra and the Tamishra. These are the hells one will get. Raurava also. Who? Bhungte naro va nari va mitha sangena nirmitaha. It says, men and women whose lives are built upon indulgence in illicit sex life are put into many kinds of miserable conditions in the hills known as Tamishra, Andathamishra, and Raurava. A materialistic life is based on sex life. The existence of all the materialistic people who are undergoing severe tribulation in the struggle for existence is based on sex. Therefore, in the Vedic civilization, sex life is allowed only in a restricted way. It is for the married couple and only for begetting children. So, this is the one standard, the highest standard studying. In a restricted way for the married couple and only for begetting children. But when sex life is indulged in for sense gratification, illegally or illicitly, both the man and woman await severe punishment in this world or after death. In this world also, they are punished by diseases like, whatever, uh, syphilis or gonorrhea. And in the next life, we see that they will be put into these hellish conditions. So this is one standard. Another place, Prabhupada says in 5:13:4, fifth canto, 13th chapter, text 4. This discussion between Rahugan and Jada Bharat. Here he says, "My dear king, the merchant on the forest path of material world, his intelligence victimized by home, wealth, relatives, and so forth, runs from one place to another in search of success. Sometimes his eyes are covered by the dust of a whirlwind, that is to say, in his lust, he is captivated by the beauty of his wife, especially during her menstrual period. Thus his eyes are blinded, and he cannot see where to go or where he is going." And here, Prabhupada says, mm, okay. It is said that household attraction resides in the wife because sex is the center of household life. Yan Maithunadi, Grehmati, Sikami Tucham. So whenever Prabhupada says this, we need to be very clear. This is for materialistic people, Grehmadis. A materialistic person making his wife the center of attraction works very hard day and night. His only enjoyment in material life is sexual intercourse. Therefore, karmis are attracted to women as friends or wives. Indeed, they cannot work without sex. Under the circumstances, the wife is compared to a whirlwind, especially during her menstrual period. Here's a standard. Those who strictly follow the rules and regulations of household life engage in sex only once in a month at the end of menstrual period. So this is also a very strict standard provided studying, that is once in a month. So this is here is not saying that the purpose is only for procreation. And then the third thing Prabhupada says, this is in a Bhagavatam class on 25th of June 1975. Let me open that. Okay, this is Ajamil section. Prabhupada says, He explains meaning of brahmacharya. Brahmachari means strictly. Brahmacharya means that one should not look upon woman. Oh, he's a very beautiful girl. That is also sex, subtle sex. So he's very clear with, oh, even looking is also sex. That also we'll discuss. There are 8 kinds of sex life which will be discussed, uh, which uh, which are described by Sridhar Swami in one of his commentary. So, and to talk fish, 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 that is also subtle sex. So these things are to be avoided. There are 8 kinds of subtle sex life. After this, I'll show that. This is called brahmacharya. So according to Shastra, if one lives with one woman, one man, they are also brahmachari. Here he doesn't give uh, any further. He said, not many. This is, if one cannot give up sex life, let him be satisfied with one man and one woman. That is also tapasya. So this is also a approved standard. We discuss 3 things: level 1, level 2, and level 3. He says, if okay, one is not able to give up, let him be satisfied with one man, one man. Now, beyond this, if one goes, that becomes illicit sex. That is something which is not at all allowed. But if one sticks to just one woman and one wife, that is also brahmachari. But not that jumping from here, there, 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 there. No, like monkey. So this is training. So versus this is training. So in Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's understanding or sharing of, when a man is a proper age, and he also has to have proper understanding of scriptures. And that's why I showed what are the standards mentioned by Prabhupada. When Prabhupada is mentioning these standards, they are actually available in scriptures. Scriptures do speak of, when devotee was sharing, of the the what is the 4 levels, uh, the Krishna, Rakta, Shukla, and Vimala standards. So Krishna standard is okay only with one's own spouse, and when one sticks to one's own spouse, then he wins the planet. And Rakta standard is a little higher, where he avoids certain auspicious days. And when one follows this very strictly whole life, then he attains the realms between earth and heaven. And the third standard is this Shukla, is where one approaches only on certain days, which are prescribed. And one strictly follows this, one attains Swarga. And Vimala, the spotless standard is one engages in sex life only for procreation. And one has followed this, one attains liberation. So, wherever we may be, slowly, slowly, one should try to rise oneself. There are other injunctions also in scripture where it is mentioned that these are like very strong. Uh, if husband does not approach his wife, on a particular day, then he goes to hell. And wife also doesn't approach her husband on a particular day, she also goes to hell, something like that. So they are, these kind of instructions are there in scriptures to help protect one's grihastha ashram. That it is important. One has to see what is the level of the other person, and the person who is at higher level has to step down. He has to step down to help the other partner, and slowly, 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 as both of them engage more in Krishna conscious services, Krishna conscious activities, gradually they will rise to the standard. So, what is no illicit sex means in the time of initiation? Uh, that is no sex life before marriage and outside marriage. That's it. And then within marriage, gradually one has to make that progress. For that, this 25 years are given from 25 till 50. And then 50, when he reaches that stage, then it takes vanaprastha, like that. And just like I discussed, no meat eating means eating meat is what is taboo. But after that, in eating standards, there are various standards. And slowly, 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 as one becomes more Krishna conscious, he will evolve. The focus should not be on giving up things. Mm. The focus should be on more positive things, on becoming more Krishna conscious. When one does that, the other things will automatically happen. As I discussed last time, the 6 Goswamis, they were not artificially straining themselves to sleep less or to eat less. They were so much absorbed in Krishna that automatically their sleep, their eating, and all the bodily activities reduced even without one's own knowledge. So that is what the approach should be, and we should not become too fanatic, especially in married life, by reading various statements which will come in the books of Prabhupada and become too confused. So again, I'll say the Vaidha, the allowed or permissible sex life in marriage as per Bhakti Siddhanta Surakur is proper age, understanding the directions of the scriptures mm, at a prescribed time based on what is mentioned in scriptures, and for protecting one's grahastha ashram. That is very important. Hari Bhakti Vilas also says that sex is allowed at proper times when it is desired by the spouse. But one has to see it is a right time. But sometimes, even if the right time is not there, the injunction scriptures are uh, the protection of Grahastha Dharma becomes most important. That's how we see somebody may question how is it that Kashyap Muni agreed to the desire of Diti. The Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha were born. One may feel, "Oh, what is this? The Diti was agitated and she wanted to unite with Kashyap Muni. And he could have told, no, this is not the right time. If you engage in this activity at this time, then Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha will come. No. The protection of Grahastha Ashram was very important. And then he had to come to a lower standard, fulfill a desire. And that's how we see Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha came. So yeah, that was mentioned in Hari Bhakti Vilas also. And obviously, I'm not very expert in this, but one has to approach one spiritual master, one has to approach counselor, get a proper understanding, and not become unnecessarily fanatic and cause havoc in one's life. And so, what is avaida? What is illicit sex? So, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, giving up scriptural regulation. And the most important scriptural regulation is accepting someone other than one's wife or husband. Hmm. So, like happened with Ajamil. And then second thing he says Avaida is to hanker for 8 types of sex pleasures. That is also illicit. What is that? I'll show that now. Uh, yes. So this is Smaranam Kirtanam Kelihi. Mm, okay, let me. Oh, sorry, I've checked here. Mm, okay. So, what are these 8 illicit sexes that is mentioned? So, this is from the commentary of Sridhar Swami on Bhagavatam 6.112. Smaranam Kirtanam Kelihi Prekshanam Guya Bhashanam Sankalpo Adhyavasayascha Kriya Nivritti Evacha. Smaranam, to think of a woman. Now, this is not just thinking of a woman, but thinking of woman lustfully. Or for woman, it is thinking of another man lustfully. That becomes illicit. Kirtanam, speaking about sex life or lustfully speaking with a man or woman. Kelihi, Keli means dallying, dallying with the intention of engaging in sex. And then prekshanam is to lustfully looking at a woman or at a man. Guhya bhashanam means intimately, secretly talking with a desire of having sex with the other person. Uh, sankalpo is to decide to engage in sexual intercourse. And Kri, Sankalpo, okay. Adhyavayascha, that is endeavoring, planning for a sex life. And then Kriya. Kriya is the last thing that is actually engaging in the sex life. So illicit sex is not just the last thing, engaging in sex, but it is also including the other things that one should try to replace as much as possible, by thinking of Krishna, by speaking about Krishna, by engaging in Krishna conscious activities. Then one will be able to give up. But one should not intentionally do these things. Unintentionally, it is happening. One should try to control his mind, but intentionally, one should not be doing smaran, kirtan, keli. So that is another thing Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati says about illicit sex. First is to give up scriptural regulation, that is accepting somebody else apart from one's religiously married spouse. Second is these eight kinds of sex pleasures. Third is, he says, the artificial means of gratification, mm, should also not be indulged in. And fourth thing, he says, to engage in mithyachar. Mm, you are in a particular ashram, and then mithyachar is like, say, a brahmachari or a renounced person. Externally, he's wearing saffron, but secretly he's engaging in these activities. So that is also illicit. And then to use forbidden means of gratifying oneself, like engaging with children or animal and this kind of things. So that is also something that is illicit. Mm. So this sex urge is compared to itch. Mm. And Prahlad Maharaj says it is like an itch. The more you scratch it, the more it increases. So one has to tolerate it. And when one tolerates the itch, slowly, the itch will go away. Obviously, we don't just tolerate it in the Gyani way or the Mayavadis way. We try to become more Krishna conscious. So it will be difficult, as we have discussed one of the verse from Gita. Shaknoti haivaya sudam prak sharira vimokshanath kama krododbhavam vegam sayukta sa sukhi naraha. One has to shaknoti, with whatever capacity possible. uh, he has to tolerate it. Till what point of time? Uh, Prak Sharira Vimokshanat. Till you give up this body. Still you give up this body, Kama Krodot Bhavam Vegam. This Kama and Krodha and other Vegas which will arise from that, they will not leave you till you leave this body. Because there is only one person who is free from sex desire, hmm, in this creation of Lord Brahma. Who is that? Anybody knows who is the person? The only person free from sex desire in this creation of Brahma. So Bhagavatam describes it is Nar Narayan Rishi, the sages whom Lord Indra tried to agitate by sending so many apsaras. And they were doing austerities in Badrikashram, the Nar Narayan Rishi. It's not different than Lord Narayan. um, and Nara is Arjuna. It's like Arjuna and Krishna themselves. So basically, only Lord Narayan is free. Surely he's not under the creation of Brahma, but the creation of Brahma, Nar Narayan sage, when they come, he's the only person. Apart from that, all other people are actually affected by this Cupid, the arrows of Cupid. And a devotee understands that let me take shelter of Krishna. The more I take shelter of Krishna, more I will get uh, elevated in my consciousness. And to the degree my consciousness is elevated, to that degree I will be able to control this upastha vekam. Hmm. So, and it may happen that no matter how much one is trying, uh, one is um, not able to overcome it. Hmm. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur is teaching us that yes, it will happen. And the more we fail, the more we fall, more devotionally one should take shelter of Gopinath. That's why he has written these three very beautiful uh, shelter giving songs as Gopinath songs, Gopinath 1, Gopinath 2, Gopinath 3. And specifically in Gopinath 3, it says, Gopinath, हार जे मेनेची आम्ही, अनेक जतन होईलो विफल, एको न भरसा तुम्ही. Gopinath, हार जे मेनेची आम्ही, I have accepted defeat. अनेक जतन होईलो विफल. I tried so many ways to overcome these Vegas, especially to Upastha Vegam. अनेक जतन होईलो विफल, but somehow I'm failing every time. But then he doesn't give up. He says, Ekona Bharasa Tumi, you are my only shelter now. And then he says, Gopinath, Kemana hoi me gati, Prabala Indriya, Bashibhuta Mana, Na Chhade Vishay Rati. This mind and the senses are so strong. Na Chhade Vishay Rati. They are not giving up this attraction for the sense objects. So please give me mercy, please give me mercy. So one has to cry to Gopinath, uh, follow in the footsteps of the Vaishnava Acharyas by singing these songs and praying very deeply. And when one does this, one day surely uh, that uh, stage will come when we will also spit at the thought, like Yamunacharya has expressed here. So when one is practicing Krishna consciousness, one should understand that this Vairagya is not limb of a bhakti. Jnana and Vairagya are not the limbs of bhakti. It's not that only those who are, surely one has to come to that stage of becoming free from sex desire, but not that only one who has been a sannyasi or a brahmachari, only he can attain Krishna. No, no. Whichever ashram one is in, wherever one has to focus not so much on Vairagya and Jnana, but one should focus more on serving Krishna, pleasing Krishna. So only in the beginning, some Jnana and Vairagya is required to enter Bhakti. That's what Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu says. Initially, you need some Gyan, you need Sambandha Gyan, you need some Vairagya, hmm, uh, some basic following of the principles, some little bit Vairagya is required. But then, once one has entered Bhakti, uh, then Jnana and Vairagya will automatically come. Janayati ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahetukam Vasudevya Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita. So as we practice bhakti, automatically vairagya will come. And that is one of the symptom to know whether we are making advancement. How much am I becoming free from sex desire, Prabhupada would say. This is a barometer we can see in our spiritual life. I want to check how much advancement have I made. Let me check how much I'm becoming free from material enjoyment, free from sex desire. To the degree we have become free, to that degree we have made advancement. But whether we are able to make or not, one should not give up hope. One should take shelter of Gopinath and understanding that this Vairagya is not the limb. It will come on its own. The limb is Navavidha Bhakti, like that. In fact, Jiva Goswami says that over cultivation of renunciation is also very dangerous. Mm. It can harden one's heart, and then it hard will become so hard that it will not be able to experience finer emotions, the higher mellows of Madhurya Ras. So ultimately, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they want to get into the service of Madhurya Ras. If they, some people over cultivate renunciation and they say, oh, Krishna is also with gopis, what is this? Or gopis. So they have developed so much hatred for the uh, female species itself that even when it comes to the esoteric dealings of Radha and Krishna and the gopis, they want to be away from it. So that's why Yoga Swami says that one should not over do over cultivation of vairagya. And I'll just show one last verse and then we'll come to the conclusion. Last 10 minutes, we will be able to complete the remaining part of the chapter. So this is the merciful Lord. We can see this is 11th canto, 14th chapter, text 18. And Lord is discussing with Uddhava. Um, So when Lord is discussing with Uddhava, he says here, "My dear Uddhava, if my devotee has not fully conquered his senses, he may be harassed by material desires. But because of his unflinching devotion for me, he will not be defeated by sense gratification." So Lord also acknowledges that a devotee may be at that stage where he has not conquered his senses. He may be harassed. But the devotee's focus is on unflinching devotion. Mm. They know very clearly Maya is very strong, but Krishna is more powerful. Mm. Devi Esha Gunamai Mama Maya Duratyaya Mameva ye prapadyante Maya metam tarantite. You surrender to Krishna, one will be able to overcome Maya. Mm. So here, if those who follow the impersonal system of speculation or austerity deviate even slightly from their path, they fall down. See, this is amazing thing about bhakti. If we would have been on the path of jnana, speculation and austerity, the yoga, even little deviation, little bit fall from brahmacharya, one falls down from one's path. Hmm. But a devotee, however, even though immature, never falls from the path of devotional service. Even if he displays occasional weakness, he is still considered a devotee if his devotion to Lord Krishna is very strong. Hmm. You will still be considered a devotee, even if one has a little fall. Not to, what is a little fall? Now the Gita verse is going to say, even if he has a very big fall. Like sometimes we see some Prabhupada disciples, they were sannyasis, and then they give up sannyas. They engage in so many illicit sexual activities. But if one unflinchingly holds back the lotus feet of the Lord, he starts following the instructions of the spiritual master, then he's not considered fallen. If someone says he's fallen, then that person will fall. So he says, even if he displays occasional weakness, he's still considered a devotee if his devotion to Lord Krishna is very strong. So how do we know his devotion is very strong? He follows the instructions given by spiritual master very strictly. Like spiritual master told, chant 16 rounds, study the scriptures, follow the regular principles. If he's holding that very strongly, then he very soon will be properly situated, as Lord states in Bhagavad Gita. अपि चेत् सुदुराचारो भजते माम् अनन्यभाक् साधुरेव समन्तव्यः सम्यक् व्यवसितो हि सः. Uh, Sudurachar, even if he does not just durachar, but sudurachar, very abominable activity. But bhajate maam ananya bhag. He is fixed in my bhajan. Obviously, his bhajan should not be like the seventh offense. Okay, let me do my, let me do some sinful activity and I will chant Hare Krishna and the sins will get counted. No, that will be seventh offense. But if one happens to fall, one genuinely repents and engages in devotional service, bhajate maam ananya. Krishna says he's sadhu. Sadhu eva samantyavya samyak vyavasito. He's a very soon he will be properly situated, or he is actually properly situated. Uh, Even if one commits the most abominable action is like, even if one engages in sexual activities with the wife of the spiritual master. Uh, But if he's engaged in devotional service, is to be considered saintly because he's properly situated. And then Krishna says, Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shantim nigacchati kaunteya pratitanihi name bhakta punashyati. So that is a very hope-giving verse where Lord says, yes. Again, there is another verse in 11th canto which comes. But Vishwanath Chakravarti, he gives two examples for this devotee. He says he is like a great warrior, but even a warrior may get struck by weapon of his enemy. Hmm. But because of his courage and strength, he is not killed or defeated. He continues to fight. Just because I got some wound with some weapon, he doesn't give up his fighting. He accepts the blow and goes on to victory. That is a determination of a devotee. Similarly, one may contract a serious disease, but if he takes proper medicine, he's quickly cured. So these two analogies Vishwanath Chakravarti gives. That we should have that warrior spirit. Wounds will come. You're on battlefield. How can you expect that there won't be any wound? Wound will come. Attacks will happen. But one should not give up one's determination. One should not give up his spirit. And like doctors also may fall victim to some disease. Doctors, because they are dealing with so many patients, uh, they're surrounded by so many viruses, even they can fall sick. But then he should focus on taking medicines properly. When he's taking medicine properly, he will become properly situated. Mm. So this concludes our discussion on Upasthavegam, and there is a very nice prayer in Padma Puran, which was quoted by Rupa Goswami. This is a devotee should pray. It says, Yuvati nam yatha yoni, yunam cha yuvatau yatha, manobhi ramate tadvan, manobhi ramatattvai. Rupa Goswami is quoting this prayer from Padma Puran. He says that, oh my Lord, just like Yuvati Nam Yatha Yuni, just like a young girl is attracted towards a young boy. Yunam cha yuvato yatha. Yunam cha yuvato yatha. And just like a young boy is very naturally, very spontaneously attracted towards a young girl, may my mind also in a similar way be attracted to you very spontaneously. Manobhi ramate tatvan, manobhi ramatam tvai. So that is a prayer a devotee should offer. And I just show the last part now of the chapter, last 3 minutes, and we will conclude the chapter today. Okay. And after having said this, Prabhupada writes the difference in Goswami and Godas. Hmm? Ananta Go cannot become servant of Krishna. The concept is we can be servant only of one person. Hmm? Either you become servant of the senses or you become servant of Krishna. Hmm? So if one has become already servant of senses, there is a possibility of becoming servant of Krishna. So overall, the six urges that we discussed in this chapter, they are categorized into three: the urges of the speech, mind, and body. And as I discussed earlier, the Tridandi Sannyas also represents these three: Kaya, Manasa, Vacha. A sannyasi takes a vow that I will constantly engage my Kaya, my Manasa, and my Vacha in service of the Lord. All these three, uh, if we are not engaging service of the Lord, these very three will take us completely away from the Lord. So officially we may not take sannyas, but at least in our mind, one should live this spirit of sannyas. Live in the spirit of sannyas that may my mind, may my body, and may my speech be always engaged in Krishna's service. Uh, yeah, and there will be difficulties. Uh, there will be complications. There will be challenges. What to do when such challenges will come? The first thing, one should make sure that one's attachments are within the boundary of dharma. One should not cross the boundary of dharma. Second thing we should do is parallelly grow in our Krishna consciousness. And third thing, we should make sure that don't become discouraged, no matter how great are your attachments. The Lord is very merciful. Very soon He will show His mercy and rescue the devotee from the difficulty. So Prabhupada then quotes one verse from Prahlad Maharaj, Matirna Krishne Parata Svatova Mito Vipadyet Griha Vratanam. Those who are Griha Vrata, those who have taken the Vrata of enjoyment, they cannot attain Krishna. Adam Taguvi, Vishyatam Tamishram, Punah Punah Charvita Charvananam. But if one gives up uh, just chewing the chewed uh, by serving the Vaishnavas and engaging in Krishna service, one will become a Goswami. And when he does that, he becomes qualified to make disciples all over the world. Shri Upadeshamrit ki jai. Shri Rupa Goswami Pad ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Samaveta Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thy God Premanande. So finally, we have completed our first chapter. Mm, the speed has been reducing. Today we could complete only one Vega. Last time we had done two, before that 1.5. Mm. But I think this chapter was the one which was taking so much time because so many personal application related instructions are there. Next text onwards, it is going to become little more easy, which we will start from next week. So officially we'll stop here. If somebody has any questions, they may stay back, and others feel free to leave. So we'll take break for 1 minute and then come to question and answer session. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Which before I begin, Bachpan Krishna is there?
Yes,
Okay.
Prajay, I'm here.
Ruchi, you had asked one question last time, so I told I can get back to you. So
Yeah.
I'll just answer that first and then take the other questions. So you had asked very interesting question about how is there any krodha from the side of devotee towards other devotees or towards the Lord in bhakti? Can that happen? Correct, no? Because
Yeah, more in the Dasya Bhav if
Dasya
that
Bhav,
that mode. Yeah.
correct, Dasya Bhav. So Rupa Goswami does discuss about this in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in the later chapters. So he has in great detail, he has given which all rasas are compatible and incompatible in a particular rasa. Like there are 5 primary rasas, Shantyaras, Dasaryas, Sakhyaras, Vatsalyaras, Madhuryaras. And there are 7 secondary rasas. One of the 7 secondary rasas is also anger. So anger or laughter or bibhatsa, bhayanaka, hasya, different emotions. So he has given in great detail that in Madhurya Ras, these are compatible, these are not compatible. Like gopis, yes, if they become angry, that is compatible rasa in serving Lord. So there in that section, he says for a dasya, anger is not compatible with the Lord. There can be some exceptions where one does engage anger, but again, that is for pleasing the Lord. Uh, One example which I discussed with some devotees I could think of is in Jai Vijay, they are das of the Lord, but they wanted to give pleasure to the Lord by fighting. A fight cannot happen without anger, as Prabhupada says. Hanumanji and Arjun, they also had to fight. So they have to use some anger. Otherwise, like as Jai Vijay came down, the 6 demons. So in that sense, they could engage anger in serving the Lord. Then there's another case. Sometimes some devotees discuss about is Bhishma Pitama fighting towards Arjuna with Arjuna. So he also has to fight with anger. Arjuna is another devotee of the Lord. So when you are asked towards the Lord and towards the devotee, so Arjuna is another devotee of the Lord, and he had to engage anger in fighting. But again, that was for the pleasure of the Lord. But Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu says that these are exceptional cases and it cannot be generalized. One more situation we see where Lakshman becomes angry on Bharat when Bharat is coming to Chitrakoot to meet Lord Ram. And when he does that, Lord Ram becomes unhappy with Lakshman. That no, you're gonna be angry with my devotees. So that is one instruction we can take that Lord doesn't like his one servant to become angry with another servant. So these cases of Jai Vijay or Bhishma Pitama, they are like exceptional cases, but in general, they should not be used. Does it answer your question?
Absolutely, Prajay. And thank you so much for remembering and saying that.
Mm,
Thank you.
last time I wanted to answer, but you were not there. So I thought this
Yeah, I
time I'll
couldn't
call
make
you.
it.
So,
Sure.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Prajay. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Atman.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for a wonderful this explanation on the last Upastha Vegam. It's very important of all. And just first, I think you have already explained that Srila Prabhupada gave the different standards, and he has not given like one standard, like, okay, this is it, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. He has given like once a month, and he has given that one is a brahmachari who's with one man or one woman. Then the highest standard also discussed by Srila Prabhupada in various different purports, where he's actually making a point that it's only for the begetting children. So all the three standards Prabhupada has given. And my question was here, that because when we had this seminar and at Kunj Bihari for Grahasthas, very detailed discussion took place, and the Prabhuji was trying to say that though Prabhupada has given, because this is the one of the standard devotees brought up, that Prabhupada allowed, or um, give a standard that once a month. And he said that's not the point. The point is, he did not explain like how you said that Prabhupada gave all the three, has discussed all the three. And the more you follow, the more the benefit, the more the higher standard, the more better liberation, the position you get, right? Uh, he was making a point that though there are standard given by Srila Prabhupada, but that does not mean we have to stick to it, and we have to uplift. So if you're on third level, you should try for the second level. If you're on the second level, you should try for the first level. And what is the best? Like, just begetting. Marriage means you have to get children. So that's the highest, just for the begetting children. That's the standard one should come. But not everybody is that advanced. So you'll fall somewhere below that. But then the thing is, devotees tend to take advantage of this standard. Basically, they stick to this standard, like once a month is allowed. Prabhupada said that. Now you showed the purport also, right? My question is that how justified it is for a devotee to make an excuse saying Srila Prabhupada allowed it, and then taking that standard. However, if that devotee is able to take higher level, but just because Srila Prabhupada said, they want to stick to that standard, and don't know, they may or they may not come out of that standard and comfort,
It,
because
they will they will be able to come to you automatically. That will happen. That's what my point was. That one has to focus more on Krishna conscious activities,
Mm,
and anartha nivritti will automatically happen. He himself will not feel so much interest, so much taste. Uh, that will not naturally happen. Janayati ashu vairagyam jnanam chayadahetukam. That is what bhakti is. So we may feel that he is able to take a higher standard. Why is not following the higher standard? But whatever standard is possible for him, that will naturally happen for him. If he focuses on right now, we may feel he's able to take, but it may be just a separation or something. Surely, if he can, he should do it. But as I told Puji that if we were in the path of jnana, then it would have been very, very serious thing. In bhakti, it is not that strict. It is not that serious. Bhaktivinoda Thakur had 10 children. So just maintaining brahmacharya very strictly is not the goal. So uh, Prabhupada allowed it, but Prabhupada also told that one should seek blessings of the spiritual master and follow a particular standard. So earlier times, Prabhuji, it was the guru was guiding the disciples, and even now disciples can take permission and guidance from guru and follow certain standard. If not guru, then the mentors, whatever. So with their permission, when one does it, then I feel slowly they will come to higher standard. And because it is two people are there, no? If both are engaged in bhakti, naturally they will lose taste. I did not show that verse because time was less. So it is discussed about how the
mm,
the beautiful ladies and the men in spiritual world, they are flying in the aeroplanes. But although they are engaging, with like they're very so closely associating with each other, but there is no indulgence in sex life there. Because they are so much infatuated by the beauty of the Lord, the glories of the Lord. So there is purposes, there is pleasure of association of opposite sex, but there is no sex life per se. like that. So I feel that will happen naturally, and then let the individual decide on their own. This is one field I feel where others need not interfere. They both have to decide, what is their standard, and they both can grow up like that. And faults may happen sometimes only again. So, like, my understanding is it should be left between the spiritual master and that particular disciple. They should handle. Others need not interfere. Asking too much, what standard are we following? Fill the form. Then tell all the details. That becomes like, uh, I mean, some spiritual master expects that that is required then. But otherwise, other devotees and counselors don't have to get into these things. That should be there. They should focus more on giving Krishna conscious engagements, making their life more and more Krishna conscious. That is what his focus should be always. Other things will automatically happen. Does it answer your question then?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. I have a follow-up question, but I will wait for others if they have any question, other and then I'll ask.
Yeah, I'll just see this. Naveen Purnell written, Cupid is one of the Roman gods. So do we also believe in them? Yeah, so as we say, Prabhuji, as we see, this Vedic culture was spread all over the world. And these personalities are quite similar. Like you see Lord Brahma, Lord Ganesh, Yamaraj, they are also found in the Japanese culture. In Roman culture, also many of the demigods are quite similar. Saraswati is there, uh, Krishna is also there, many people are there. So just like Kamadev is one of the demigod here for um, in the Vedic culture, a counterpart of that is Cupid in the Western world, and both are quite similar. Both are flying, both have bow and arrow. Both are shooting. Only the details are more available in the Vedic literature, where the bow is described with of sugar cane and is accompanied by these five queens. And in the Western culture, they may show somewhat this wings he has and he's flying. So those details may vary, but the concept is quite same. Okay, Tarunam has asked, uh, could you please remind what Acharya's comment about the last part in the verse? One who controls the urges can make disciples. Is it about Diksha disciples or Shishya disciples? Hmm. I have not read direct understanding about this, uh, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Bhakti Alok begins from the second text, and the other commentary that he has given, I have not read it fully. But what I have heard from senior devotees is when he says here, uh, Etan Vegan Yogi Sahita Dhiraha Sarvam Apimam Pritvim Sasishya. This Shishya making is these six rules are applicable for all the transcendentalists, not only the Vaishnavas. Hmm. Any transcendentalist who wants to become a guru, he has to have control on these six urges. So it could be applied to both Shiksha or Diksha disciples. But this term itself is very complex right now. It is convoluted. Guru Tattva is one of the most difficult to understand. Shambhu Tattva, Guru Tattva. A lot of discussion going on now in ISKCON also about Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru, and now they're going to make Shiksha Guru even more prominent. If you have read about the recent um, update about Vaishnavi Diksha Gurus. So they discuss that okay, they need not initiate, but they can be made more prominent Shiksha Gurus. So eventually Shiksha Gurus will also become more important. And Shiksha Gurus can be many. Like one may get teaching from someone, he also becomes like Avadut Brahman had 24 Shiksha Gurus. All may not follow all the six principles. But if one has accepted someone as his Bhajan Guru, we can say. If Diksha he has taken from someone, but he's taking very detailed guidance about his advancement in spiritual life, he also should be controlled in the six urges as much. At least he should be higher than what the candidate is below him. At least that one thing will come ahead in one of the verses. Prabhupada says that a spiritual master, he may not be very evolved, but at least he should be a higher stage than the person whom is guiding. That is what I know. Does it answer your question? Yes, Pooja, you had the follow-up question.
Yes, Prabhuji. If no one has, then I can ask.
That's
Uh,
fine.
I think there is not. Okay. So, Prabhuji, follow-up question is in terms of um, somebody is not following, and sometimes there is a risk that right they will fall. And when we discuss that shloka Bhagavad Gita 9.31, one of the purport you showed, which is Srimad Bhagavatam 11:14-18, I think Prabhupada discussed that as well. And it is very commonly used. And I just wanted to know, I know for sure that yes, if I have to look at the someone else's fall down, I should always remember this shloka and consider, no, this is what Krishna is accepting that devotee, then wow, who am I, right? But how if someone is using this verse for their own fall over and over, like we see the tendency in
Yeah, so
some.
that becomes the seventh offense, as we did. The seventh
Yeah,
offense
I
will
mean,
be.
so that becomes offense, and
Yes,
then it becomes difficult for that devotee. And
yes.
then, even if Krishna is saying that, one should consider that as a sadhu. So, again, for Krishna, is it still sadhu? I mean, Krishna will still consider, no matter, it is nonsense. That devotee is taking advantage of it. But will it be like Krishna will still go ahead and.
No, no, because even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will not consider him the most merciful person. They say Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Patita Pavan, but not Kapati Pavan. And that's why in this Prema Vivarta, he has quoted example of Chota Haridas.
Hmm.
So Chota Haridas was not considered sadhu. And what happened? Nobody knows, but at the max, there was some conversation. Some acharyas say it was only a glance which was inappropriate towards Madhavi Devi by Chota Haridas. Some say maybe he spoke something. So at the max, it has gone to Prekshanam or Guhya Bhashanam, something like that. What the eight kinds we saw. Mahaprabhu said out. Mm. I cannot, you cannot fool me saying that Abhijay Sudhuraj. He was doing Ananda Bhag. He was doing bhajan. He was taking shelter of Vaishnavas. He was praying. He was chanting. He was fasting. He said, I'll not eat. Baba said, no, you have acted against your uh, ashram. He was in the renounced order, and you're not supposed to be doing this. Mahaprabhu wanted to teach. So, obviously, it happened incidentally. Still, Mahaprabhu was so strict. He was not unhappy with him, Acharya say, but Mahaprabhu wanted to show a very high standard to people because he knew that in the time to come, many upper sampradayas will come. People will get into illicit sexual activities in the name of bhakti, in the name of Ras Leela, and so many things. So, he wanted to be very, very strict that if you're an renounced order, you have to be very pakka renounced order person and follow your dharma very properly. Um, so, what my understanding is, if one is doing that seventh Namaprad, then Krishna will not uh, uh, forgive him.
Hmm.
He has to genuinely, feel uh, repentance and uh, he has to genuinely try to overcome the falls. Mm. After that, also, if he happens to fall, then it's a different thing. But one says, oh, let me fall now, and tomorrow I'll chant Hare Krishna. So that will be the seventh offense.
So basically, if somebody is genuinely trying to attempt, but then keeps falling, and for us, it may seems that okay, that person is over and over doing it on
Yeah,
purpose, but maybe genuinely they are trying and falling, trying, falling. So that will be appreciated by Krishna, and he
Krishna.
will, yeah, right. I mean, so, but then we should not be the judge in such cases. We don't know
Correct.
what exactly it is.
Correct.
So, for us, we should always consider that person as a sadhu. It is not our place to judge, in a sense, we can say.
So there is one more verse. I'll just share the reference here. You can read the purport later on. That is also very hope giving. 11th canto. Uh, yeah, this is 11, 20, 27, and 28. जातशुद्धो मत्कथासु निर्विण्ण सर्वकर्मसु वेद दुःखात्मकान् कामान् ततो भजेत मां प्रीतः श्रद्धारो दृढ़ निश्चय. In that, the Acharya's commentary, it is explained very similar thing, that he may fall, but if he is steadfast, Krishna will give him shelter. Very nice, long purport, but very important purport. Because lack of time, I did not go into this verse. Yes, ma'am. So this will be another additional verse.
Yes, Guruji. Thank you. Thank you
Okay,
very
thank you
much.
all very much for joining. We'll stop here. शिल प्रभुपाद की जय, समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे.